Today we're going to be discussing this vehicle that was reported to police as a tip on May the 8th, coming and going from the 1407 Gairloch Road address, the trailer address, where Jack and Lilly Sullivan lived with their stepfather and mother and were reported missing from on May the 2nd. This witness, who was a neighbor, told police and the Globe and Mail reporter that they heard a 5-speed vehicle coming and going in the early morning hours between midnight and 5 a.m. Using the information we know and making a few assumptions, I'm going to look at where this vehicle possibly could have been going. Okay, before we get to that, do you remember way back in May when RCMP put out a request for people who may have had dash cam footage that had traveled along Gairloch Road? That press release was issued on May the 28th, and I contend that it's very possible that it was that vehicle the police were trying to identify. In that press release, it said, Corporal Sandy Matharu, Northeast Nova RCMP Major Crime Unit. We are now asking anyone who has dash cam footage or video along Gairloch Road between 12 p.m. on April 28th and 12 p.m. on May 2nd to contact us. So I contend that they were looking for that vehicle, trying to identify it, maybe get a plate number, and also to see how many times that same vehicle, in fact, did come and go from the 1407 Gairloch Road address during that week. Okay, before I get to the really boring, mundane part of this video, being the formula, math part, we're looking at approximately a 30-kilometer distance that vehicle traveled back and forth from 1407 Gairloch Road. And you may ask, why 30 kilometers? Well, I'm going to explain that formula towards the end of the video. But there are a few points of interest depending upon the direction of travel. And of course, we don't know in what direction that vehicle traveled. So first we have a possibility of Upper Stewiacke. That is a 28-kilometer distance from 1407 Gairloch Road. Again, these are random points of interest looking at the distance of in and around a 30-kilometer zone. Another area is the Upper Musquodoboit, which comes in at 33 kilometers away. We have New Glasgow. That comes in at 30 kilometers away from, again, 1407 Gairloch Road. We have Tatamagouche that comes in at 28 kilometers. So to arrive at that 30-kilometer distance, we first need to look at the information that we know, okay? So this is the article from the Globe and Mail. There is, however, at least one account of strange activity at the mobile home that night. RCMP spokesperson Corporal Carly McCann confirmed police received a tip May 8th from someone who described hearing a vehicle come and go from the mobile home throughout the night before the children were reported missing. Investigators are continuing to review and assess more than 600 tips from the public and follow up on over 800 tasks. Okay, so we now know that the police are aware of that vehicle, that they have 800 tasks, one of those being looking at dash cam footage along Gairloch Rd. Further, the information that we know is that the neighbor said they were working on a vehicle in their own yard when they heard the same loud 5-speed car come and go from the trailer 6 times from midnight to 5 a.m. After the children's disappearance, the neighbor considered it important information and reported it to police. So between midnight to 5 a.m. is 300 minutes, okay? And we have the vehicle coming and going 6 times. So that's the information that we know. We also know from Google Maps that the speed, because that's another thing we need to take into consideration. The speed along Gairloch Rd, which is Highway 289, is 80 kilometers. I have allocated for the formula that the vehicle traveled 90 kilometers. I've allocated 90 kilometers because I'm going to assume, and as I said, there are some assumptions that have to be made in this. I'm going to assume that whoever is doing whatever during those hours are not traveling slowly. Whatever they are doing has taken them 5 hours. So they are going to do it, they're going to travel and drive pretty much as fast as they can. And on average, a lot of people do and will travel approximately 10 kilometers over the speed limit. They may have been traveling 70 kilometers. They may have been traveling 80 kilometers. As I said, for this exercise, there are assumptions that have to be made. But I think overall, we're getting much closer to the distance traveled using this exercise than we would if we were just sort of shooting in the dark. Okay, here's a little bit of the boring part. Given the total time, 5 hours, which equates to 300 minutes, as I said before. Now, I have allocated a stay time between 15 minutes and 30 minutes per trip. The stay time is the period in which the vehicle is not moving. So they get to wherever they're going and they do whatever they're doing. And again, this is an assumption. And there, as I said, you have to assume some things here. I'm not assuming that this vehicle is driving from 1407 Gairloch Rd to a specific destination, turning around and driving back to 1407 Gairloch Rd. There is some certain stay time at each given point. The information that would be quite valuable to know would be that information from the neighbor. How long a period, roughly, did they hear the vehicle arrive at 1407 Gairloch Rd and then leave again? That would be valuable information to know. But I am giving it between 15 minutes and 30-minute stay time. So based on the stay time between 15 and 30 minutes for each trip, the total distance traveled for the 6 trips would be in the range of 180 kilometers and 315 kilometers total round trip, okay? So if you break that down into 6 trips, the minimum distance per trip is 30 kilometers, when the stay time is 30